welcome. My name is Atem and I'm reporting for Premier Magazine from the EGI conference in Amsterdam. And we're talking here with Duggan O'Neill from Compute Canada, who just gave a presentation. So welcome.
Thanks.
Can you tell a little bit about the Compute Canada, what it is?
Sure. So in Canada we have one national provider of what we call advanced research computing. So advanced research computing includes high performance computing, high throughput computing, cloud. Essentially, if it's something that a researcher needs to do from an academic institution and it's beyond what they're comfortable doing themselves on desktop machines and small clusters, they come to us. So it means we have a wide variety of different services that we offer and a wide variety of different hardware platforms that we need to support. We're also, since we're a national organization, Canada is a very wide country. We support researchers from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Right now it's at about 10,000 active researchers, 3,000 different research projects in that 10,000 researcher group. And I would say that the organization itself was first formed around 2006, but was reformed in a different, as a really national organization in 2012. So Compute Canada's, depending on which way you look at it, we've either been around for a long time, almost 10 years, or we're still in kind of a startup mode, being about 3 or 4 years old in its new form.
Its new form, so what does that mean?
Prior to 2012, we were a loose academic consortium. Basically, we were actually even a consortium of consortia. So there were different regions in Canada that each had formed their own advanced research computing organizations, and we were an umbrella over those. From 2012 onward, we actually got a central office with people in it trying to do a job of better integrating the resources from those regional consortia, creating national services that make it easier for researchers to use the resources that are out there. I would say, the tradition was that we were mainly supporting people. We were very self-sufficient on resource. You give them access to a big machine, they just go and they use it. They don't really want your help. So we were helping with optimizing codes for those machines, but not in-depth help. Today we support people from all disciplines with all different experience levels, and so we really need to spend more time and effort training and making services that are more accessible to a broader base of users.
But Compute Canada is still a kind of federated organization.
It's still a federated organization, so that the funding model in Canada is a combined federal-provincial funding model. So our provinces are very strong, they deliver a lot of the services. In Canada, even in healthcare, the money for healthcare comes from the federal government, but the delivery of the service is the responsibility of each province. And so it's somewhat similar in Compute Canada, where except it's co-funded. So Compute Canada is responsible for going and getting the federal funding, which is about 40% of the total, and then provincial governments chip in some part, and institutions, universities chip in some part to make the whole, to make the 100%.
Mm-hmm. Is Compute Canada also working together, or partners of Compute Canada, with commercial cloud providers?
We are the infrastructure provider. So right now we're not purchasing any infrastructure from cloud providers. So we go directly to vendors and build our own clusters. In the future, we may strike up these kinds of arrangements with commercial cloud providers. Up until now, it has not been the most. It's not been the highest priority for us to do that interface, but I assume it's coming.
What will be the new developments in Compute Canada?
Right now, we're in the middle, or actually really towards the beginning of a major technology refresh. So we had built something we called our national platform, with the last major investment being in about 2012, and then there was a bit of a gap, and now starting a few weeks from now we take delivery of the first new major equipment since 2012, and we're installing 4 new major compute centers and a national data infrastructure all over the next year. So So we're suddenly going from a bit of a gap in technology funding. We had good support for operations, but a gap in technology funding to suddenly deploying a whole lot of systems at once. And so the technology changes include a bigger emphasis on cloud. So we have a great expansion of our OpenStack capabilities, but also a big emphasis on storage and on data services compared to what we had before. Compute Canada was very compute focused when it started and has become more and more data focused as time has gone on. And so this means we should be buying different kinds of infrastructure than we did in the past, and that's reflected in what in the approach that we've taken this time, where our very first purchase is a national data infrastructure across all of our sites, and later we will be deploying the compute to go with that data service.
We were here in Amsterdam at the EGI conference, and at the same session there were people from the US and from Australia speaking. So how important is international collaboration for you?
It's super important because the community we serve is very collaborative internationally, and so we have people from particle physics, astronomy, neuroscience, genomics, all of the things that we were talking about in the session. They do not limit themselves to the borders of Canada. They have direct collaborations with researchers in Australia, in the US, in Europe. And they need to be able to exchange data, and they need to be able to run common tools on that data across borders. So it's one of the reasons that Compute Canada signed an MOU with EGI late last year, is to work together on interoperability, starting with a few specific projects that really need it today, but then trying to make it much more broad than this, so that users from Canada can move easily to EGI resources, and then EGI users or European users can move easily to Canadian resources, especially when it comes to experimental data that has to be shared and processed together. It really enables a lot of different research that's just not possible when you have individual silos communicating by email instead of communicating by actually doing work together.
Thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you.